Hi, I'm Hazel. Today I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. It started 3 years ago when I married James, the love of my life. We had a beautiful wedding. Well, as beautiful as it could be with Eleanor, my mother-in-law, criticizing everything from my dress to the cake flavor. I thought it was just wedding jitters making her act that way. How wrong I was. "You look so beautiful, Hazel," James said on our first Thanksgiving as a married couple, watching me arrange flowers for the dinner table. "Thanks, babe. I just want everything to be perfect for your parents," I replied, adjusting the centerpiece for the 10th time. "Don't stress. Mom will find something to complain about regardless," he said with a half smile that didn't reach his eyes. I laughed nervously. "That's not helping." "Sorry, but it's true. Nothing's ever good enough for her." When the doorbell rang, I smoothed my dress and plastered on my best smile. "There's my boy," Eleanor exclaimed, embracing James while barely glancing my way. Richard, my father-in-law, gave me a gentle hug. "The place looks lovely, Hazel." "Thank you, Richard. Dinner's almost ready," I said, leading everyone to the living room. Eleanor immediately started inspecting the room, running her finger along the bookshelf. "You know, James, your apartment was always so tidy before." "Mom, I barely had any furniture then," James replied, shooting me an apologetic look. "Eleanor, the house looks wonderful," Richard interjected, trying to defuse the situation. "I'm just saying, a man needs a clean home." She smiled thinly at me. "How's work going, James? Still putting in those extra hours for that promotion?" Actually, Hazel encouraged me to speak to my boss about better work-life balance. "I'm home by 6 most nights now." Eleanor's smile vanished. "That's interesting. In my day, men worked hard to provide. Richard never came home before 8 when you were growing up." "And we barely saw him," James responded. "I'd rather have time with my wife." I excused myself to check on dinner, feeling Eleanor's eyes burning into my back. The next morning, I called my best friend Sarah. "She's just threatened by you," Sarah said after I recounted the evening. "Threatened? By what?" "By the fact that her son loves you and listens to you. Some mothers can't handle not being the most important woman anymore." "Well, it's exhausting. James sees it, but he just says that's how she is." "Classic enabler response," Sarah replied. "You need to set boundaries before this gets worse." "How do I do that without causing family drama?" "The drama's already there, Hazel. You're just not playing your part in it." Over the next few months, Eleanor's behavior escalated. She'd drop by unannounced, call during our date nights, and constantly undermine me. "You know, James loves his eggs over easy, not scrambled," she'd say, watching me cook breakfast during her surprise Saturday morning visits. "Actually, Mom, I prefer Hazel's scrambled eggs," James would reply. But the damage was done. Then came the family dinner that changed everything. The night of the infamous slap. Eleanor insisted we host a family gathering for James's brother Thomas, who was visiting from out of state. "Thomas, it's so good to see you," I said, hugging my brother-in-law. "You too, Hazel. The house looks great," he replied, handing me a bottle of wine. "Thanks. How's California treating you?" "Sunny and expensive," he laughed. "But I love it." Eleanor interrupted. "Thomas, come sit by me. I want to hear all about your new job." Throughout appetizers, Eleanor dominated the conversation, constantly steering it back to Thomas or James, never acknowledging anything I said. When dinner was ready, I served James first since he was seated next to me. It was a simple, unconscious gesture. "James, here you go," I said, placing his plate in front of him. The moment I set down the plate, Eleanor's hand struck my cheek with a sharp crack. The room fell silent. "How dare you!" Eleanor hissed. "You serve the eldest woman at the table first. That's proper etiquette. Didn't your mother teach you anything?" My cheeks stung as everyone stared in shock. James's face turned red. "Mom!" he exclaimed, standing up. "What the hell was that?" "She needs to learn respect," Eleanor said calmly, as if slapping someone was perfectly normal. "You just slapped my wife in our home," James said, his voice shaking. "You're the one who needs to learn respect." Don't you speak to me that way, Eleanor warned. I'm still your mother. Richard finally spoke up. Eleanor, that was completely inappropriate. Stay out of this, Richard. I found my voice. I think you should leave, Eleanor. Excuse me? She said, eyebrows raised. You heard my wife, James said firmly. Get out of our house. James, you can't be serious, Eleanor sputtered. I've never been more serious. You cross this line, you deal with the consequences. Thomas stood up. I'll drive them home, James. I'm sorry, Hazel. After they left, I broke down crying. I'm so sorry, James said, holding me. I never thought she'd go this far. This isn't the first time, James. It's just the first time she's been physical. What do you mean? She's been undermining me, criticizing me, trying to come between us since day one. Why didn't you tell me? I did. You always said that's just how she is. James went quiet, the reality of his enabling sinking in. The next day, Eleanor called James repeatedly. He finally answered on speakerphone. James, I think we need to discuss what happened, she began. There's nothing to discuss. You owe Hazel an apology. I may have overreacted, but she disrespected me. Stop. Just stop, James interrupted. What you did was assault. You're lucky we're not pressing charges. Don't be dramatic. It was barely a tap. I couldn't stay silent. It wasn't a tap, Eleanor. You slapped me hard enough to leave a mark. Oh, you're there too, she said coldly, listening in on our conversation. This is my conversation too, I replied. You assaulted me? Fine. I'm sorry if you felt hurt. That's not an apology, James said. That's deflection. Try again. I'm sorry I slapped you, Eleanor said flatly. Now can we move past this? No, I replied. We can't just move past it. Your behavior has been toxic since James and I got married. Toxic? How dare you? I've only ever wanted what's best for my son. What you want is control, James said. And you're not getting it anymore. We're taking a break from you, Mom. A break? What does that mean? It means we won't be seeing or speaking to you until you get help for your controlling behavior. This is ridiculous. Richard, tell your son he's being ridiculous. We heard Richard's voice in the background. Eleanor, they're right. You crossed a line. I can't believe you're taking their side, Eleanor shouted before hanging up. Thomas called later that evening. Hey, how are you holding up? He asked. We're okay, I replied. Still processing. I'm not surprised this happened, to be honest. She did similar things to my ex-wife. Really? James never mentioned that. He probably blocked it out. Mom's always been this way with women who take her boys away. That's so messed up. It is. Listen, I've been keeping my distance for years for this exact reason. If you need support navigating this, I'm here. Thanks, Thomas. That means a lot. Over the next few weeks, Eleanor tried everything to break our resolve. She sent guilt-tripping texts, had relatives call us, and even showed up at our door with tears and gifts. Please, James, she begged on our doorstep. I miss you. I've apologized. No, Mom, you haven't truly apologized. You haven't acknowledged the pattern or tried to change. What do you want from me? She cried. We want you to see a therapist and work on your controlling behavior, I said from behind James. A therapist? There's nothing wrong with me. Then we have nothing more to discuss, James said, closing the door. Eleanor's next move was to target James's job. She was friends with the wife of James's boss and started spreading rumors that our marriage was failing because of my instability. Did you hear what my mother's been saying about us? James asked, storming into the kitchen one evening. No. What now? She told Mr. Peterson's wife that you're mentally unstable and that I'm covering for you. What? Why would she do that? To punish us. To try to drive a wedge between us. I sat down feeling sick. She's trying to ruin your career now? Well, it backfired. Peterson called me in today to check if everything was okay at home. I told him exactly what's been happening with my mother. Turns out his mother-in-law is just as bad, and he was incredibly understanding. So, What happened? He's making sure she has no access to company events, and he warned the other executives about her behavior. 2 months later, we attended a neighborhood barbecue. Eleanor, who'd made friends with our neighbors to spy on us, showed up unexpectedly. "Hazel," she said sweetly, approaching me while James was getting drinks. "You look well. Have you lost weight?" "What are you doing here, Eleanor?" I asked firmly. "Linda invited me. We've become quite close." "How convenient." "I thought we could talk, woman to woman. There's nothing to discuss unless you've started therapy." Her smile tightened. "You've turned my son against me. Are you happy? Your behavior turned James away. You slapped me, remember? One mistake and I'm crucified for it?" "It wasn't one mistake. It was the culmination of 2 years of undermining, criticizing, and manipulating." Linda approached us. "Is everything okay here?" Eleanor immediately switched to her victim voice. "Oh, I'm just trying to reconcile with my daughter-in-law. She and James have cut me off completely." "Really? Why would they do that?" Linda asked. Before Eleanor could spin her tale, I spoke up. "She slapped me across the face at our dinner table because I served my husband before her." Linda's eyes widened. "You did what, Eleanor?" "It wasn't like that," Eleanor protested. "Hazel has always been disrespectful." "I saw the handprint on her face," James said, joining us. Everyone at the table saw it. Other neighbors had gathered now, watching the drama unfold. "She's exaggerating," Eleanor insisted. Thomas, who had flown in to support us and was attending the barbecue, stepped forward. "No, Mom, she's not. I was there too. You slapped her hard enough to leave a mark." Eleanor looked around at the judging faces and realized she was losing her audience. "This is a private family matter." "You made it public when you came here to badmouth us to our neighbors," I replied. By the end of the barbecue, everyone knew what Eleanor had done. Her attempts to turn our community against us had completely backfired. The final straw came when Eleanor's country club friends, her primary social circle, began distancing themselves after hearing about the slap incident. Appearances meant everything to Eleanor, and the social rejection devastated her. One evening, Richard called us. "Your mother's not doing well," he said to James. "Is she finally ready to get help?" James asked. "She's lost most of her friends. No one wants to be associated with someone who hits their daughter-in-law. She's been uninvited from the charity committee she chaired for 15 years. "That's unfortunate, but it's the natural consequence of her actions," I said. "She misses you both terribly," Richard continued. "Dad, we've been clear about our boundary. She needs professional help for her controlling behavior." "Well, that's actually why I'm calling. She started seeing someone. A therapist." James and I exchanged surprised looks. "That's a good first step," James said, "but it doesn't change our boundary yet." "I understand. Just thought you should know." 6 months later, we received a letter from Eleanor's therapist, with Eleanor's permission, confirming she'd been working on her issues with control, narcissistic tendencies, and emotional regulation. "Should we give her another chance?" James asked me. "Not yet," I replied. "A few months of therapy doesn't erase years of behavior. Let's see if the changes stick." We eventually agreed to meet Eleanor in a public place with Thomas present as a buffer. She looked different, humbler, less perfectly put together. "Thank you for meeting me," she said quietly. "What do you want, Mom?" James asked. "I want to apologize, properly this time." She took a deep breath. "Hazel, I'm sorry I slapped you. It was wrong and inexcusable. I'm sorry for trying to come between you and James. I'm sorry for spreading rumors and trying to turn people against you." "Why did you do those things?" I asked. "I was afraid of losing James, of not being the most important woman in his life anymore. My therapist helped me see how unhealthy that is." She looked down. "I've lost so much because of my behavior, my friends, my standing in the community, and most importantly, my relationship with you both." "Actions have consequences," Thomas said. "I know that now," Eleanor replied. "I don't expect forgiveness or for things to go back to how they were. I just wanted you to know I'm working on myself. Thank you for the apology, I said. But you're right. We can't go back to how things were. We need more time, James added. And we'll need to see consistent change before we consider having you in our lives again. Eleanor nodded, tears in her eyes. I understand. I'll keep working on myself, whether you let me back in or not. I need to be better. As we left, James squeezed my hand. You okay? Yeah. For the first time, I think she actually gets it. Eleanor continued therapy and joined a support group for parents struggling with boundaries. She sent occasional updates but respected our space. Her social life never fully recovered. Actions have permanent consequences sometimes. A year after the slap, we invited her for coffee. The visit was brief, controlled, and surprisingly pleasant. She didn't criticize, didn't try to control, and most importantly, respected our boundaries. She seems different, I told James afterward. She does, but we're keeping the visits short and in public for now. Agreed. Trust takes time to rebuild. 2 years after the incident, Eleanor's transformation appeared genuine. She'd learned to respect our boundaries, stopped trying to control James, and even developed a cordial relationship with me. She never fully regained her social status, though. The story of her slapping me had spread too far, and some actions can't be undone. She lost her position in several organizations, and many former friends remained distant. Richard later confided that the social consequences had been the wake-up call she needed. Losing face in the community hurt more than anything else could have. It forced her to look at herself honestly. Today, we maintain a carefully measured relationship with Eleanor. We see her monthly for brief visits. She's on her best behavior, but we'll never forget what happened. Some trust, once broken, can never be fully restored. As for James and me, the experience strengthened our marriage. He learned to stand up to his mother and prioritize our relationship. I learned to speak up when boundaries are crossed. And that dinner where she slapped me? It's now a story we tell, not with humor, but as a turning point where we refused to accept toxic behavior, even from family. So let me ask you this. What toxic relationship have you had to cut off for your own well-being? And how did you handle the aftermath when they tried to come back into your life?